everyone. Welcome back to Well Life Wednesday. I'm your co host, Iris, licensed clinical addiction specialist associate. And this space is talking about real conversation, support of our mental and emotional overall well being. And if this is your first time listening, welcome. And if you've been rocking with us for a while, I truly appreciate you coming back each week, investing in yourself. Today, we'll be talking about something that a lot of people experience, but few people openly talk about. Our topic is letting go of the shame and how shame impacts our mental health. Shame is one of those emotions that can quietly sit in the background in our lives. It doesn't always show up loudly. Sometimes it hides through our thoughts, self talk, and even the way we interact with others, even the way we see ourselves. And the truth is, shame can have a very real impact on our mental health, our relationships, our ability to move forward in life. So today, we're going to be talking about what is shame, how shame shows up in our lives, how it affects our mental health, and most importantly, how we can begin to release it and move towards our healing. So let's take a breath, let's get comfortable, and let's get into it. Let's start with a simple question. What is shame? Shame is the feeling that something is wrong with us as a person. It's different from feeling guilty because guilty often determine that we did something wrong. But shame says, I am wrong, I'm not enough, I'm flawed, and that's a heavy burden to carry. Shame often develops from experiences like being criticized, being judged, childhood experiences, being dismissed, not feeling the attention or love, comes from trauma and abuse, addiction and recovery journeys, culture and family expectations. People having expectations, high expectations of you, and you feel like you can't meet those. Past mistakes where you haven't been forgiving of yourself. So many people has felt shame because of the internal voice, and that's where it lies most of the time. Those, like I said, that self-talk, those inner thoughts that we're having. You may hear thoughts like this: I should have done better. People will judge me if they know the truth about me. I'm not worthy of anything good. I'm too broken. Over time, those thoughts can become your belief. You feel like that's truly my reality. Like I'm not rewarding, or I shouldn't, nothing good should come to me. Do the people know what I have done or what I have experienced? Why should I expect something great? We want to change those thoughts. And when the shame becomes a belief, it can start shaping how you move through the world. So let's talk about how shame impacts our mental health. Shame doesn't just stay in our thoughts, it affects our mental health in deep ways. So let's talk about it. Shame can fuel anxiety. And this day and time, we have heard, and even on my job, there's so many people dealing with depression and anxiety. When people carry shame, they often feel like they're being evaluated by others. And that's what you hear a lot. They worry about what people thinking. You see how they're looking at me. I know they know. I mean, it. All these thoughts are playing in their mind. They just begin to worry a lot. What would people think of me? What if they find out about my past? What if I mess up again? This constant fear of judgment can lead to social anxiety, overthinking, people pleasing behaviors. People may start shrinking themselves just to avoid criticism. I have seen people, like I said, the social anxiety. Either they withdrawn or they try to do too much to please the people to fit in. So they're trying to hide what they've been through. They don't want anybody to see that. It's what we call masking. And like I said, they start shrinking themselves. They're walking in somebody else's shoes instead of their own shoes. You have to be comfortable with who you are. The hang-ups, the past struggles, the traumas, that's where we often say, walk your journey, get the help you need. We talked about the other week, no needing to put on airs and be faking and trying to maneuver through this thing. If you hurt, you hurt. If you have pain, you have pain. Find positive ways to get through those things. Shame can also contribute to feeling hopelessness and low self-worth. When someone believes they are fundamentally flawed or maybe feeling like change is impossible for them, they often say, why try? Nothing about me is going to improve. We have to get past that. I know people feel like that's their reality, but we have to change that thought process. They're already thinking the negative or forecasting things that hasn't even happened. This can lead to withdrawal, isolation, loss of motivation, and isolation is where shame thrives the most. When we isolate, that's enough time for us to sit in our thoughts, uh, weary, depression, all types of emotions are coming in when we isolate and we don't have that connection or those groups or that trusted person that we can talk to or that therapist. We haven't reached out to a therapist or anything. So we're sitting in everything in our own thoughts. And some of those thoughts are negative thoughts. We have to maneuver through that and get past through the isolation. Allow someone to help. We talked about so often in these episodes. Normalize asking for help, some type of support. Let's talk about how shame can lead to unhealthy behaviors. Many people try to norm shame instead of facing it. That's where we might find some of these behaviors, like substance use, emotional eating, avoidance, overworking, and perfectionist. That is so true. Because we don't know how to deal with things, a lot of times people resort to drugs and alcohol. Emotional eating. They're eating everything to cope, to deal with their pain. Avoidance. Don't want to be bothered with anybody. Isolation. And then there's people that overwork. That's all they do. They just work, work, work. If they work, they don't have time to think about things. They don't have time to see people. They don't have time for anything but to work. Eat, sleep, and go to work. And then you have the perfectionists. They want to do everything to prove that they've done everything the right way. They can't have no errors. If they get a B or C on the for a test or their grade, it's like the end of the world to some people. They're so perfected to they want to make straight A's, and that can become overwhelming for a lot of kids and college students, because sometimes the parents has pushed so hard, or even them pushing themselves so hard, till they can't accept anything but an A. We have to find ways to support yourself and any loved one you may know that's dealing with this. These behaviors often develop because people are trying to escape their painful feelings underneath. But instead of removing shame, they often create the same cycles. Example: someone drinks to escape shame, then feels ashamed about drinking, which leads to more drinking. I see this so often being a substance abuse counselor. They tell you how much they're drinking one day, the next day they come, you may come back and they're talking about how bad they feel. They want to get help. You provide them the support to get the help. Sometimes you even take them to treatment to get help. Even on that road, driving them to treatment, they they can change their mind and resort right back to drinking. See it daily. And often these cycles can become exhausting. What shame often shows up. Shame appears in so many common ways in our life. Shame is around mental health. Many people grow up learning and hearing messages like just pray about it, be strong, stop being emotional. And all these things are good. You can pray about everything. You can be strong and knowing in your faith who God is. And then you hear about stop being so emotional. And a lot of times that has set some people back because you've been told um, as a child, or you like I say, or you heard, you don't everything we got any problems in this house, it stay in the house. You don't go out telling nothing and all that kind of stuff. People walking on eggshells instead of getting the help that they need. So when people struggle with depression, anxiety, and trauma, they feel embarrassed to ask for help because what they were heard, what they was told, and what they saw. And we have to get to the point where needing help is not a weakness. It's strong to ask for help. It's part of the healing journey. Part of the healing journey. Shame around addiction. Again, as someone that works in the field, people carry deep shame about their past choices. We all know that recovery is not being perfect. Recovery is growth, it's accountability, and it's healing. And shame often keeps people stuck longer than the mistake itself. I hear a lot of people say, "Oh, I've been to rehab before. I done been to all the AA meetings. I done been to the NA meetings, and I did good for a couple of weeks. I did good for a month, and I went right back to doing the same thing." And I talked about the other week. We have to be thankful for the small steps. If we took 3 steps forward and then 2 steps back, I'm thankful that you even moved. We can keep working. You making progress. And a lot of people, a lot of the support system, when they find out the person has relapsed, when they know they had been through recovery, oh, you done this again. I'm through with you. And a lot of them have burnt their bridges to where they don't have that family support. So all they have is they sponsor or they group members and themselves to try to keep them motivated or push them through to the next. So we got to be careful how we even talk to people, treat people, because we don't even know where they are in life and what steps they have taken to get this far. We can't knock the even the 3 steps back. Don't knock it. Be thankful that they're still willing to try and to move forward. Shame around life progress. This is another big one. People feel shame when they think they're being when they're behind financially, not knowing what's going to happen with their careers, being single when they're expected to be married, struggle when others seem successful. There's many times you hear people say, why do Aunt so and so or Uncle so so always ask me at the family reunion when they see me, uh, you ain't got no better job yet? Or when you gonna get married? When you gonna have some children? When you gonna do this? When you gonna do that? And sometimes uh, your cousin done this. Why you ain't done this yet? All the comparison and asking them why haven't they done this? Why haven't they done that? That puts a lot of pressure on people. Let people go at their own pace. A lot of people don't know people learning style. Some people are slower than the other. Uh, People think because you catch on quick, they should catch on quick. They might not. They might have to read it 2 or 3 times before they can get it. Everybody not going to do everything at the same pace at the same time. That's why we all are different. Let people progress at their time. Everybody navigating life at their their point of life, at their pace. How we begin letting go of the shame. Let's talk about it. How do we start releasing? It doesn't happen overnight, but there are powerful steps that we can begin the process. Number one, let's name the shame. And when we do that, shame loses the power. We bring it into the light. Instead of pushing it down, we're allowed to feel the shame. Sometimes simply name it can bring awareness, and awareness is the first step to healing. So when we name it, identify what it is, that's the first step into our healing process. Number two, challenge the story. Shame usually comes with a story we tell ourselves. For example, I'm a failure. But when we slow down and examine that belief, we may realize where it comes from. It could come from one mistake we made. It can come from someone else's criticism or a painful experience from my past. Even though that could have happened, that might not be absolutely the truth. It might just be the pain that hasn't been processed yet. Okay, so we made mistakes. We put on here on this earth. We know we're going to make mistakes because we're able to make choices, and sometimes we don't make the best decisions. And someone may criticize us because everybody's not going to agree with what you like or think or do. And things may have happened in our lives that caused us pain, as I often say, but we do not have to stay there. Because the person that caused us pain, most of the time they move on, but we still holding on. We need to identify what happened, why that pain was caused, and work through to get to our healing, to the point where we're able to function and not even think about that. Practice self-compassion. Many people are compassionate towards others, but extremely harsh towards themselves. And if a friend made the same mistake that they did, we probably wouldn't say things like, you're worthless. You would say, you're human, you're learning. Self compassion means offering the same understanding that you give to others. I often say we can be so hard and so critical on ourselves. We can be our worst enemy. because we give everybody else grace and compassion, but won't allow that for ourselves. We deserve that too. Talk to someone safe. That's number 4. Shame grows in silence, but it weakens when we talk about it with safe people. Again, that could be a therapist, a trusted friend, a support group, a faith leader. Go to someone that you feel safe with, and like I said, that you trust. You don't want to go to anyone that you feel like or have questions. If I tell them this, it's going to be out in the streets soon as you get off the phone with, or soon as you leave their presence. That's not a trusted friend. So we have to start identifying that too. Who is a trusted friend? When someone responds with empathy instead of judgment, it can shift how we see ourselves. And that's true. That is so true. Number 5, separate your identity from your mistake. That is good just by itself. Separate your identity from your mistake. You are not your worst moment. You are not your past. You are not your mistake. People grow, people change, and healing allows us to rewrite new chapters in our lives. Thank you, God. I want to talk about it again. Separate your identity from your mistakes. You're not your worst moment. You're not your past. You're not your mistakes. People grow, people change. And healing all allows us to write new chapters in our lives. Stop identifying yourself as your mistake. You are wonderful, uniquely made by God. Encouragement. Let's encourage the people to them today. If you have been carrying the shame for a long time, I want you to hear this clearly. You are still worthy of healing. You are still worthy of growth. You are still worthy of love, connections, and peace. Shame may tell you that you are alone, but you're not. Many people are walking a similar journey as we are, trying to heal. And every step that you take towards self-awareness, self-compassion, and support is a step towards freedom. We talked about that on Sunday, freedom and liberty. So this week, I want to leave you with a reflection question. Ask yourself, what is one piece of shame I'm ready to release? What is one piece of shame I'm ready to release? You don't have to solve everything today. Just start with awareness. Healing often begins with honesty. We have to be honest with ourselves. So that's where it begins. I want to say thank you for spending time with me today on Well Life Wednesday. If this episode resonated with you, feel free to share it with someone who might need this conversation. And remember, taking care of your mental health is part of living a well life. Until next time, take care of yourself, extend grace to yourself, and keep choosing healing. And I'll see you next week. Thank you.